Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Book 11. Characteristics of the rational soul: self-perception, self-examination, and the power to make of itself whatever it wants. It reaps its own harvest, unlike plants, and in a different way animals, whose yield is gathered in by others. It reaches its intended goal no matter where the limit of its life is set, not like dancing and theater and things like that, where the performance is incomplete if it is broken off in the middle, but in any point, no matter which one you pick, it has fulfilled its mission, done its work completely, so that it can say, "I have what I came for." It surveys the world and the empty space around it, and the way it's put together. It delves into the endlessness of time to extend its grasp and comprehension of the periodic births and rebirths that the world goes through. It knows that those who come after us will see nothing different, and those who came before us no more than we do, and that anyone with 40 years behind him and eyes in his head has seen both past and future both alike. Also characteristic of a rational soul: affection for its neighbors, truthfulness, humility, not to place anything above itself, which is characteristic of law as well, no difference between the logos of rationality and that of justice, to acquire indifference to pretty singing, to dancing, to the martial arts, analyze the melody into the notes that form it. And as for you here, each one, ask yourself whether you are powerless against that. That should be enough to deter you. The same with dancing, individual movements, and tableau, and the same with the martial arts, and with everything except virtue and what springs from it. Look at the individual parts and move from analysis to indifference. Apply this to life as a whole. The resolute soul, resolute in separation from the body, and then in dissolution of fragmentation or continuity. But the resolution has to be the result of its own decision, not just in response to outside forces like the Christians. It has to be considered and serious, persuasive to other people without dramatics. Have I done something for the common good? Then I share into benefits. To stay centered on that, not to give up. And your profession? Goodness. And how is that to be achieved, except by thought about the world, about the nature of people? First, tragedies to remind us of what can happen, and that it happens inevitably. And if it's something gives you pleasure on that stage, it shouldn't cause you anger on this one. You realize that these are things we all have to go through, and that even those who carry a loud "O Mount Citeron" have to endure them, and some excellent lines as well. This, for example, is if I and my 2 children cannot move the gods must have their reasons. Or, and why should we feel anger at the world? And to harvest life like standing stalks of grain. And a good many others. Then, after tragedy, all comedy, instructive in its frankness, its plain speaking designed to puncture pretensions. Diogenes used the same tactic for similar ends. Then consider the middle, and later the new comedy, and what it aimed at, gradually degenerated into mere realism and empty technique. There are undeniably good passages even in those writers, but what was the point of it all? The script and stage it alike? It stares you in the face. No role is so well suited to philosophy, and the one you happen to be in right now. A branch cut away from the branch beside it is simultaneously cut away from the whole tree. So too a human being separated from another is cut loose from the whole community. The branch is cut off by someone else, by people cut themselves off through hatred, through rejection, and don't realize that they are cutting themselves off from the whole civic enterprise. Except that we also have a gift given us by Zeus, who founded this community of ours. We can detach ourselves and become once more components of the whole. But if the rupture is too often repeated, it makes the severed part hard to reconnect and to restore. You can see the difference between the branch that's been since the beginning, remaining on the tree and growing with it, and the one that has been cut off and grafted back. One trunk, two minds, as the gardeners put it. As you move forward in the Logos, people will stand in your way. They can keep you from doing what's healthy. Don't let them stop you from putting up with them either. Take care on both accounts. Not just sounds, judgments, solid actions, tolerance as well for those who try to obstruct us or give us trouble in other ways. Because anger, too, is weakness, as much as breaking down and giving up to struggle. Both are deserters, the man who breaks and runs, and the one who lets himself be alienated from his fellow humans. The natural can never be inferior to the artificial. Art imitates nature, not the reverse, in which case the most highly developed and comprehensive nature itself, cannot fall short of artifice in its craftsmanship. Now, all the arts move from lower goals to higher ones. Won't nature do the same? Hence justice, which is the source of all the other virtues. For how can we do what justice requires if we are distracted by things that don't matter, if we are naive, gullible, inconstant? It's the pursuit of these things and our attempts to avoid them that leave you in such turmoil, and yet they aren't seeking you out. They are the ones seeking. You are the one seeking them. Suspend judgment about them, and at once they will lie still, and you will be freed from fleeing and pursuing. Thus all as a sphere in equilibrium, not grasping at things beyond it, or retreating inward, not fragmenting outward, not seeking back on itself, but ablaze with light and looking at the truth without and within. Someone despises me. That's their problem. Mine not to do or say anything despicable. Someone hates me. That's their problem. Mine to be patient and cheerful with everyone, including them, ready to show them their mistake, not spitefully or to show off my own self-control, but in an honest, upright way. Like Phocion, if he wasn't just pretending. That's what we should be like inside, and never let the gods catch us feeling anger or resentment. As long as you do what's proper to your nature and accept that the world's nature has in store, as long as you work for others' good by any and all means, what is there that can harm you? They flatter one another out of contempt, and their desire to rule one another makes them bow and scrap. The despicable phoniness of people who say, listen, I'm going to level you here. What does that mean? It shouldn't even need to be said. It should be obvious, written in block letters on your forehead. It should be audible in your voice, visible in your eyes, like a lover who looks into your face and takes in the whole story at a glance. A straightforward, honest person should be like someone who stings. When you're in the same room with him, you know it, but false straightforwardness is like a knife in the back. False friendship is the worst. Avoid it at all costs. If you are honest and straightforward and mean well, it should show in your eyes and it should be unmistakable. To live a good life, we have the potential for it. If we can learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference, this is how we learn, by looking at each thing, both the parts and the whole, keeping in mind that none of them can dictate how we perceive it. They don't impose themselves on us. They hover before us, unmoving. It is we who generate the judgment inscribed on them on ourselves, and we don't have to. We could leave the page blank, and if we mark slip through, erase it instantly. Easier said than done. Remember how brief is the attentiveness required, and then our lives will end. And why it is so hard when things go against you. If it is imposed by nature, accept it gladly and stop fighting it. And if not, work out what your own nature requires and aim at that, even if it brings you no glory. None of us is forbidden to pursue our own good. Source and substance of each thing, what it changes into and what is like transformed, then nothing can harm it. My relationship to them, that we came into the world for the sake of one another, or from another point of view, I came into it to be their guardian, as the ram is of the flock and the bull of the herd. Let's start from this. If not atoms, then nature direct everything. In that case, lower things for the sake of the higher ones, and the higher ones for one another. What they are like eating in bed, etc. How driven they are in their beliefs, how proud they are in what they do. If they are right to do this, then you have no right to complain. And if they aren't, then they do it involuntarily out of ignorance, because all souls are prevented from treating others as they deserve, just as they are kept from truth unwillingly, which is why they resent being called unjust or arrogant or greedy, any suggestion that they aren't good neighbors. That you have made enough mistakes yourself, you're just like them. Even if there are some you avoid, you have the potential. Even if cowardice have kept you from them, or fear of what people will say, or some equal but reason. That you don't know for sure it is a mistake. A lot of things are means to some other end. You have to know an awful lot before you can judge other people's actions with real understanding. When you lose your temper or even feel irritated, the human life is very short. Before long, all of us will be laid out side by side. That is not what they do that bothers us. That's the problem of their minds, not ours. It's our own misperceptions. Discard them. Be willing to give up thinking of this as a catastrophe. And your anger is gone. How do you do that? By recognizing that you have suffered no disgrace, unless disgrace is the one thing that can hurt you. You're doomed to commit innumerable offenses, to become a thief, or a heaven only knows what else. How much damage anger and grief do than the things that cause them. That kindness is invisible, provided it's sincere, not ironic or an act. What can even the most vicious person do if you keep treating him with kindness and gently set him straight? If you get the chance, correcting him cheerfully at the exact moment that he's trying to do you harm. No, my friend. That isn't what we're here for. It isn't me who is harmed by that. It is you. Aye. And show him gently and without pointing fingers that it's so. That bees don't behave like this, or any other animals with a sense of community. Don't do it sardonically or meanly, but affectionately, with no hatred in your heart, and not ex cathedra or to impress third parties, but speaking directly, even if there are other people around. Keep these 9 points in mind like gifts from the 9 muses, and start becoming a human being now and for the rest of your life. And along with no getting angry at others, try not to pander either. Both are forms of selfishness. Both of them will do you harm. When you start to lose your temper, remember there's nothing manly about rage. It's courtesy and kindness that define a human being and a man. That's who possesses strength and nerves and guts, not the anger winners. To react like that brings you closer to impassivity and so to strength. Pain is the opposite of strength, and so is anger. Both are things we suffer from and yield to, and no more thought from Apollo. That to expect bad people to injure others is crazy. It's to ask the impossible. That to expect bad people not to injure others is crazy. It's to ask the impossible and to let them behave like that to other people, but expect them to exempt you. It's arrogant, the act of a tyrant. 4 habits of thought to catch for and erase from your mind when you catch them. Tell yourself. First, this thought is unnecessary. Second, this one is destructive to the people around you. Third, this wouldn't be what you really think. To say what you don't think, the definition of absurdity. And then the fourth reason of self-reproach, that the more divine part of you has been beaten and subdued by the degraded mortal part, the body and its stupid self-indulgence. Your spirit and the fire contained with it are drawn by nature upward, but they comply with the world's designs and submit to being mingled here below. And the elements of earth and water in you are drawn by their nature downward, but are forced to rise and take up a position not their own. So even the elements obey the world, when order and compel and man their stations, until the signal to abandon them arrives.